All right, so now we're focusing on hyperbolas, which look like this. So they can face in different directions on the graph. So in the last video, we did ellipses, and now we're gonna do hyperbolas. So the only difference is an ellipse has a plus sign in between and a hyperbola has a minus. So if the x squared comes first, it looks like that. Now let's swap the x and the y. So if you swap the x and the y, you see if the y comes first, it makes the hyperbola on the y-axis there. If the x comes first, it's the other direction. So that's how you can tell which direction the hyperbola is going. So let's go on Khan Academy here. We're going to the second part of this conic sections unit, which focuses on hyperbolas, which is very simple, especially if you know how to do the ellipses. They're all kind of the same, but a little different. All right, so which of the following graphs can represent the hyperbola? Well, you want to take the square root of these numbers down here, and you're going to get plus or minus 3. So let's see which one comes first. The y, you know, it's going to be on the y-axis, and it needs to be at 3. Plus 3, negative 3. So it would be that one. So here, which equation would match this? Well, y is going to come first. It's at the 8. 8 squared is 64, so it would be D. And you're pretty much just doing the same. Now the x's come first. So for the x-axis, it needs to be at 4 plus or minus. And this one needs to be up and down at 1. And so you're just matching up the graphs for that. Pretty simple. Now we're going to find the foci. I hate saying this word. It's so confusing. Foci of this hyperbola. And so you're going to use these two numbers here. So before it was p squared equals, I forget what letters they use, but it's pretty much like Pythag theorem. For this one, it is, you're looking for your foci, and I believe, let's see, let me double check. Okay, so your foci is equal to your p squared plus your, I forget what letters they use. Let's see. Your p squared or a squared plus b squared they use. So that's an important formula to write down. This is the standard formula for a hyperbola, and here is how you find the foci. So now you want to, so when we do that, let's go back up. Okay, so here we have our equation. So you're just going to use these numbers, right? This is your a squared and b squared. You don't even need to square it because it's already squared. So you're just going to do 8 plus 27, which gets you 35. So f squared is 35. And so that means if you take the square root of both sides, f is equal to the square root of 35. So it's going to be on the x-axis here, since the x, right, it's going to look something like this. So it's going to be on the x-axis when you graph it. So your x is it's going to go where the x spot is, pretty much. All right, so for this one, we have the actual graph, which you can actually visually see it now. So you want to add these two numbers together, right? F squared equals 25 plus 144, and so F squared equals the square root of 169, which, if I remember correctly, is, so F squared equals 169. If we square both sides, we get F equals the square root of 169, which is 13. And so x comes first, but on the x-axis. And so you're just doing the same thing here. 16 plus 25 is 41. It's going to go on the x-axis. And same thing here. I feel like we keep getting x-axis ones. This is the same as the last one. It's still at 13. And that's that. Pretty simple. Oops, what did I click? Let me go back. So this is the last part of this unit here, and this is where it gets a little bit more confusing. A little more tricky, shall I say, not confusing. Okay, so this is on the y-axis. We know the y squared is going to come first. So you should automatically, do y squared minus x squared equals 1. Now we need to figure out what the denominators here are going to be. So this is at 8. So this is going to be 8 squared, which is 64. Your foci is at 17. So we know f squared equals our a squared plus our b squared. And this is Pythag theorem, simple, just solve for b. And so b squared is equal to 17 squared plus, actually minus, sorry, because we're minusing 8 squared to the other side. And so 17 squared is 289. And so this becomes 289 minus 64. And so 289 minus 64 gets you 225. So b squared equals the square root of, sorry, I keep doing that, jumping ahead of myself. 225. B squared equals 225. So b is the square root of 225, which is 15. So b is 15. So that's 15, and there is your, oh, you should square it though, actually. So it's 15 squared, which is 225. Don't forget to square it. When it's in the formula, it should be squared. I have students make that mistake, so just be careful. And so let's type in our formula. There it is. That's our equation for this hyperbola. A hyperbola centered at the origin has the vertices plus or minus. Okay, so then it's going to be on the y-axis here. And this is where the foci is. So that squared is 89. Is equal to that squared, which is 54, plus our b squared. Once again, we're finding our b squared. 89 minus 54 is 35. And so b is the square root of 35. Okay, so we need to write the equation. So when you write the equation, remember these vertices, oh, sorry, our y squared should come first. These vertices are where the vertices and the foci is at. So if we were to sketch this, it's going to look like this, right? And then it has our foci there and there. So our y squared comes first. And so remember, in the denominator, you square whatever the vertices is, right? So the vertices is at the square root of 54. So the square root of 54 squared just takes it out of square root. Same thing with the square root of 35. It just takes it out of square root. So do not put the square root in the denominator there when doing the equation, or you're going to get that incorrect. And so you're pretty much doing the same thing again and again. So this one, the y comes first. Sorry if you hear my dog crying, playing with his toys. Okay, so here is the y comes first. This here is at 75. So what's 75 squared? That would get us 5625. So that's going to be a pretty big number. So that's 5625 plus b squared equals f squared. Our f squared is at 85 squared, which is 85 times 85, which is 7225. And so we're going to minus 5625 to the other side. We should know how to do, we're in pre-cal. We should know how to do Pythag. Square root both sides. And you get your other vertices there, or your other part of the formula. You can actually just leave that squared, right? No need to square root it because you're going to put just the 1600 there anyways. And so that's pretty much all you need to know about hyperbolas. So there's nothing more you really can do. Finding the equation, graphing them, sketching graphs. Although in pre-cal sometimes they do go over finding the asymptotes. But we won't get to that in this video. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.